He swept the Saskatchewan election with nearly two-thirds of the popular vote. He was recently named Canada's most popular premier, and he led his historically have-not province into a Saskaboom. So what's the secret to his success, and what can other Western premiers learn from him? We're very fortunate to have Premier Brad Wall joining us via Skype from his hometown of Swift Current. Premier Wall, we're honored to have you with us tonight.
Well, thanks for the invitation.
So you're the hottest thing going in Canadian politics these days. Angus Reid has you at 71% in the polls. And you also are one of only two provinces in Canada that are going to balance their books this year. Can you tell us what is the secret to your success that you can share with other provinces?
Well, first of all, I think Angus Reid keeps phoning my home. I have about a 70% approval rating there. I think that's part of it. The other thing that's very important to note here, and we've tried to do this as a government over the last 4 years, is acknowledge good fortune. There's a lot of good timing involved here. Now, we've tried to do the right things with that good luck. That's meant paying down the debt. Well over $3.8 billion paid down, 44% less general debt in the province. And we've tried to take the opportunity of some additional revenue to reduce taxes, historic property tax reduction, historic income tax reduction, with admittedly more work to be done to make sure we're as competitive as we possibly can be. And then we've taken some of the resources, some of the revenue, frankly, to invest in infrastructure. We want to try to keep up with the challenges that come with growth. We welcome them, by the way. We used to have other challenges in the province, namely losing too many people and a shrinking tax base, and to other provinces principally. And so we're grateful for these new challenges that are all about growth. And we're trying to do the right things with some of the good fortune the province has seen in the last number of years.
Now, I think you're being a bit modest. I grew up in Saskatchewan and spent a lot of time there, and it had all those resources then. And I'm wondering why other provinces and other politicians, and the public for that matter, doesn't seem to understand when you talk about debt reduction and lowering taxes that really can create a boom environment in your province. Why were you the first to do that in Saskatchewan?
Well, I'm not sure we were. I think in other provinces they've sought to have, at least for a time, stable royalty structures. I think actually that was a key issue in the last campaign in our province through October and November. We were proposing not a reduction in royalties, actually, but just royalty stability, while our opponents in the NDP advocated increasing royalties significantly. We think that royalty stability and lower taxes on property and income are part of a growth agenda, and it doesn't matter the stripe of a government or what province. I think a formula of fiscal probity, infrastructure investment, and lower taxes works. You have to have the resources to be able to do it in a balanced budget, and that's where the good fortune comes in, because government doesn't control the price for potash, obviously, neither should it, nor does it control the price of oil. And but I think we can do the right things with some of the revenue that's coming in, and we're working hard to do that, knowing we can always be doing a better job. So I see that it's happening in a lot of jurisdictions. Well, perhaps not a lot, but it is happening in jurisdictions, and it has happened in the past. So there's lots of there are many examples to follow. We're trying to do our thing to make sure we keep the growth going in the province.
I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with Ottawa now. You were one of the newsmakers of the year the other night, named because of your battle with the federal government over BHP Billiton's offer to take over Saskatchewan Potash, which you opposed, and the federal government thought was a pretty good idea until you flexed a few muscles. And I think many people were shocked that you were able to win that battle. Now, do you fear that the federal government might want to step back and encroach on natural resources as they're developed in Saskatchewan, or what did you learn from that little battle?
I don't fear that, actually. I get the sense quite to the contrary, that this federal government understands where the provinces have clear jurisdiction. And this particular federal government, I think, has signaled that they want provinces to be able to, and, I think this is true of the recent health transfer talks, frankly, where the federal government has said, look, this is provincial jurisdiction, and we're going to respect that. That particular takeover bid was a challenging issue. We want to send the signal that this province is open for foreign investment, is open to companies like BHP, who, by the way, are still pursuing what will be, if they go ahead with it, the largest potash mine in the world right here in Saskatchewan. So it's important to note that post the deal, we're working well with BHP as they continue to invest in our province. But we wanted to make sure that we were able to still send a signal to the world that Saskatchewan's open for business, but like every other country, there may be certain foreign takeover deals that don't meet, in our case, the net benefit test. That's the test the Federal Investment Canada guidelines apply to these kinds of takeovers. But if they don't meet a net benefit test, then we'll have to, hopefully on very rare occasions, say no, while still being a free trading country that's open to investment. So I think that balance was struck. I think it was the right decision. We've seen in the wake of it that BHP is moving forward, and we also saw a company from Germany, K+S, announce they're moving in with a new mine in Saskatchewan, South American interests as well. So clearly the world understands that countries will say no from time to time. There are free trading countries that do it, though, and still attract foreign investment, as is the case in our province and in our country.
You're taking a little different tact on healthcare as well. You brought it up a moment ago. Mr. Flaherty announced the new healthcare funding deal for provinces. And I was really intrigued by a tweet that you put out this week where you said health transfer talk has to be about better healthcare and measurable outcomes, not just about money. Well, I think a lot of other provinces would fall over dead if that came out of the mouths of someone who was important to them in their province. And tell us, that is a really different approach, isn't it? An outcome-based approach. What is it?
Well, it needs to be an outcome-based approach. Remember, when we're at those meetings with the other provinces or with the federal government down the road, we are there representing Canadians who want better health care. I'm representing Saskatchewan people. That's who I work for, and they want better health care. And, you know, I think they'd like to see some goals set, some targets set for better care that are measurable. And we've done that. We have a surgical wait times initiative underway right now where we've committed that no one will wait more than 3 months for surgery in this province. We're going to get to that goal by 2014. The good news is we're well on the way. The good news is that even numbers out today show that almost 90% of people who were previously waiting 18 months and longer are now no longer waiting that long. In other words, wait times 18 months and longer are down 90%, 70% for 12 months and longer, and we're making progress on the people waiting 6 and 3 months. We will get to our objective, and we're doing it with private clinics. Within the public system, there's no credit cards being slapped down on tables, no queue jumping, but we're in part able to meet these objectives, these goals, and achieve shorter wait times with private clinics in the public system. That's an innovation with measurable targets. And we're saying, let's make sure this health talk's not just about money. How is it about better care? How is it about more sustainable health care? Because health care inflation is between 6 and 8%, and I don't know of an economy growing that fast in this country, including ours. So we need to be focused on better care and sustainability, not just negotiating for cash.
In the few minutes I have left with you now, I want to ask you, is there any plan to privatize the Crown corporations? You still have a heck of a pile of big Crown corporations. I know they're bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars. Your liquor stores are still run by government employees. These are holdovers from the former NDP government. What are your plans there?
Well, on the liquor side, it's not quite true. We have one of the most aggressive blends of private versus public delivery of retail liquor services. Most of the liquor retailing in rural Saskatchewan are in private stores. They're stores that are sometimes grocery stores or a bumper to bumper, and they also have a liquor vendor. A lot of it comes from off sale in terms of hotels. So there's quite a blend there. You know, we voted in opposition for a bill that prescribed public ownership for certain crowns, and we campaigned on that same vote twice. We worked hard to keep the promises that we've made, to do the things that we said we would do, and to not do the things we said we wouldn't do. And we're going to keep those promises. It's how we're able to be in a position of, I think, be in government, frankly, and rebalance our labor legislative environment to be fair to both employers and employees. It's why we've been able to win an election and be there to lower those taxes and reduce debt. And those are our priorities, but we intend to keep the promises that we made.
For the last question here, and I appreciate your time today, I just wanted to ask you about Bruce Power's decision not to go ahead with a nuclear reactor that would have served Alberta and Saskatchewan. A lot of people may not know that the oil sands actually straddle the border between Alberta and Saskatchewan, and that nuclear power might have been a way to help to fund some of that, to provide electricity to a lot of that development. So what was your response to that decision from Bruce Power?
Well, you might know we went through a process in our province, our government did, where we looked carefully at a large-scale conventional reactor for Saskatchewan, and it just doesn't make economic sense when you calculate the cost of the infrastructure as well as the plant itself. We mine and sell 20 to 26% of the world's uranium in any given year. We're the world leader, certainly in uranium, and so our government thinks it's important. It's important to add some value to that uranium, and that's why we have a uranium center of excellence now as a result of our government's initiative at the U of S, where we're partnering with companies like Hitachi, looking at small reactor development, seeking to reestablish our position as a leader in nuclear medicine. So we support the entire value chain here of uranium, given that we mine so much of it. There's huge economic opportunity, but
not the reactor.
Well, it's got to make sense. If it doesn't pencil out, we have to be worried about being competitive in terms of our electrical rates with hydro provinces like Manitoba, so that we can compete for, to have a welcoming business environment and also make sure it's affordable for our residents. So if it doesn't pencil out, we're not going to do it, notwithstanding the uranium that's here.
Well, nice to talk to a politician who believes if it doesn't pencil out, you shouldn't spend taxpayers' money on it. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Wall. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.